Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, Jeff, how you doing? How's this week been for you?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. What'd you say? I was thinking about Zelda.
Good answer. Yes, the Nintendo Switch came out, as did Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I got a Switch opening night. I got out of work. I get out of work at like 3 a.m. and I called around to a few places, and there was one not too far away that still had a couple. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, wasn't it that you just had enough time to put the update on? And
well, pretty much, yeah, because I had to work the next day, so like I updated the software and then I went to sleep.
Actually, I love that.
Yeah,
it's like like midnight releases and stuff like that aren't nearly as fun when you have a job.
Right,
the next day, it's like I have just enough time to turn it on and play. Maybe I could play like an hour, and then it's like, oh no, an hour of downloading a first day patch. Pretty much,
like yeah. I'm actually a little surprised that, I mean, it's been like 5 days or something. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that there isn't more stuff out yet. Like the Switch store has like 6 things on it. There's like the 3 games that have come out so far, and then like a demo. And...
It does seem like they rushed it a bit, and it's somewhat understandable. But yeah, like there's definitely a lack of content right now.
Yeah, I mean it'll get there.
Oh, for sure.
I only bought this thing because like I have some money coming in pretty soon that I wasn't expecting to have, and it's like, well, I don't have anything else I need to spend it on. You know, I don't think I've never gotten a console opening night ever. I bought a Nintendo DS when the DS first came out. I want to say within the first couple weeks.
Sure.
That's the closest I've ever come to having a console like right when it came out. So I think I was getting it more for the novelty of just having it right at the beginning.
Yeah.
More of that than anything else.
Yeah. I think I got a PlayStation 4 an opening on the release date, and then like any other one was any of the DSs. Like the 3DS I got on release day. And
yeah.
Like the new 3DS I got on release day.
Yeah, I haven't bought a handheld. Like I have a DS Lite that I bought, I don't know, a couple years after the DS Lite came out. That's the last handheld I bought.
Yeah.
So,
but I did get the Wii U version of Breath of the Wild, and I love it.
It's a very good game.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about starting a review podcast specifically for the Breath of the Wild. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
I just want to talk about it so much.
If you ever wanted to, I would at least be a call-in.
Sure. No, it's a great game so far. I really like it. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I like it. There's a lot of things about it that are different than the rest of the Zelda games.
Oh, absolutely.
And I knew nothing going in playing this game. I think I told you earlier that the only thing I knew about this game was that there's a rock right at the beginning of the game that you can push all the way to the end of the game. That's all I knew. I didn't even know it was an open world game or anything. But
the companion rock.
Right. But when I started playing it, again, I haven't really kept up on a lot of video game stuff. So like I haven't played any of Skyward Sword. I played Twilight Princess. You know, I played all of that. There's a lot of Zelda games that I haven't played. But when this one started out and I saw that it was so different from other games, and I realized, Nintendo isn't just re-releasing the same game like they have for the last 20 years.
Right.
It gave me a lot of hope. Like for games like Mario Odyssey, that looked god-awful to me because it was so different than the other Mario games. This actually makes me think, okay, it may look awful, but it's not necessarily. I will give it a chance when it comes out.
Sure, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a huge change, but like it's surprisingly it just feels like they learned from other games.
Yeah.
What can be fun, and got far enough away from what Zelda used to be. I don't know. It's a good time. I like it.
And like I'm not very far in the game, so I don't know if it is a good game. I mean, it seems like a really good game, but like maybe it'll turn out to not be very good when I get further into it. I don't know. And I'm sure there's a lot of like Zelda fans that are not happy with all the changes, but I think
more than likely
it's really cool that Nintendo was willing to make a big change.
Yeah.
For good or for bad.
And not only that, like they delayed it quite a bit to get to this point.
Really?
And like, people were upset, but like that's just how games are done.
Yeah.
Like they say like, oh yeah, it's it's like fall of 2000 whatever, which is code for winter of the following year.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like it's always going to happen that way, but no, it looks like they did the right thing, took their time with it. It's very good.
It definitely seems very polished. I think that's really cool.
And I'll tell you that like I've probably been hours wise, I've probably played more than you.
Probably.
And I'm maybe like I wouldn't even say I'm much farther in the story than you are, because that's how good of a game it is. It's like I'm just having so much fun just playing it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying like I want to beat it because I want to see I want to experience everything, but I want to experience everything. So like I haven't even gotten into the storyline very much, and like the game is really good at just letting you do anything, and it does not shoehorn you into doing anything.
Yeah.
Like they say, really you can go right to the last guy, or you can go and explore, or you can go and find out, this part of the story. I could talk about it all day.
All right. Well, I think that'll conclude this portion of the Breath of the Wild cast.
Sure.
All right. So I think we're going to get into the episode.
Sure.
But before we get to questions, let's take a little trip into a dark cave. There's a foul odor and an evil roar and some smoke wafting from this cave.
I don't know about this cave, Gabe.
Do you know what's in that cave, Jeff?
I don't know if I want to know.
It's the Dragon's Hoard.
Ah!
So our item today in the Dragon's Hoard is going to be another RPG Superstar entry. This one is from the 2012 contest, and it is from user Miko Kallio. This item is called the Deck of Falling Houses. This is a set of cards, 54 cards adorned with designs that are oddly skewed or tilted, but otherwise similar to playing cards. As a standard action, you can toss any number of these cards into an unoccupied space within 30 feet. In a flash of light, the cards transform into half-inch thick, 5 by 10 foot sheets of opaque crystal with colors and motifs matching the original cards. So you grab these cards, you toss them down on the ground, they transform into giant crystal playing cards.
Sure.
The transformed cards arrange themselves into a contiguous structure of your choice, such as a wall, a tower, or a bridge, and they become joined along the edges. At least one of the cards must merge with a permanent solid surface. The seams become magically hardened, allowing even the most absurdly imbalanced structures with improbable angles to remain standing indefinitely. So you can use these to literally build a house of cards.
Okay.
But if a transformed card is destroyed, which it lists the hardness and hit points and so on, or if it's dispelled or hit with a strong enough wind of 31 miles per hour or more, the magic starts to unravel and all the cards in that structure become unstable. Anyone starting their turn or moving onto an unstable card must make an acrobatics check or fall prone, and a round later the cards burst in a shower of dust and cannot be used again.
Okay, so they don't, once you're out of cards, you're out of them?
I think so, yeah. That looks like the deck, like I said, comes with 54 cards, and then you could probably buy or make another one,
sure,
depending on where you get your magic items from.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think this is really cool because you could use, like, let's say you just need to cross a pit.
Sure.
Okay, toss down a couple cards, they become a bridge.
Yeah. Like, 10 foot long bridge. Yeah, you can, like a 5 foot square pit, you can easily walk over.
Or you could literally build a house of cards with them.
Sure.
You could be like, well, I have this magic item we just found. I kind of need a house or maybe a stronghold or something.
Some sort of shelter.
Yeah. Toss down a few cards, it turns themselves into a little house. Now, of course, they are breakable. So you wouldn't necessarily be able to have a stronghold, at least not in the most literal sense, but you could use it to build something.
Right.
And, you just need like a little hideout. You need a vantage point to look out. You could have them build, as it says, like a little tower. Have them build like a little watchtower that you can use to like look at the bad guy's base or something.
Right. And the way it sounds is like you can, as long as it's touching one surface, so you could make a bridge out into nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, like, if there was a cliff face, like, it's as long as you've got, let's say, like 54 cards, that's 540 feet. You could go, like, so if you're trying to cross a ravine or something, you can go 540 feet out, and it needs no other, no other stability other than like touching a solid surface.
Yeah.
And, until somebody comes and like, attacks it or a wind or something
right.
like that.
I'm imagining in Minecraft or Terraria,
oh, sure.
like building a staircase that just goes off into the sky.
Oh yeah, nerd pulling and you're just making like a bridge that's like supported by nothing.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really neat. I could even imagine if somebody did build like a house out of these things, then they're like, well, crap, I don't want somebody to come along and destroy it. So then they start reinforcing the card house with
use it
bricks.
as scaffolding to make a better structure.
There you go.
So that's pretty cool. Like, that's a lot of uses. These are the kind of things I really like. Like these are the kind of like magical items that I really like. It like just things that make something out of nothing aren't necessarily like for like combat or anything. They're not gonna you're not gonna win it. You're not gonna defeat any dragons with this. Although you probably could. If you were really crafty, you probably could. Like I don't know. It's like, all right, we need to get a boulder over its head or something like that, and then
got this boulder all the way at the beginning of our adventure. We need to push it all the way over here.
We need to kill Ganon with this boulder.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you could even like make like a little like chute. Make like a V shape, and then you can roll a boulder down like a little chute made of cards,
or a kick-ass slide. Am I right?
Yes.
I don't know where that came from, but there's lots of cool things you can do with this.
Like water slide. Yeah.
Yes.
You just pour water down it.
I really like any item that is card themed. I just think that's
Gabe.
Yeah,
if you
Jeff?
pair this with the decanter of endless water, you can make a water slide.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Jeff, we're gonna make characters.
Sure.
And we're gonna start a water park.
Yes.
Oh, and then we can have the free mayonnaise.
The free mayonnaise stand at the water park.
Free mayonnaise and free honey. What other Dragon's Hoard items can we incorporate into this?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, we can have that dagger that cuts stone, so we can like make some awesome art to stand outside this thing.
Some sculptures.
And then if someone loses an arm on the slide,
we can sew
it back together.
Because it's made of crystal, so it might be some sharp edges.
Yes. And then what can you do with that die? The
dice
cube of patience thing.
It's just it's a game of chance. It's one of like the cards.
There you go. You go.
Or you can like win a giant Stewie doll or something.
Yes.
All right. That's one of the die. All right. One of the
awesome.
Die faces.
Let's do this. I really like any magic item that is card themed.
Okay.
I remember when we were in Jay's Eberron campaign, my artificer, I always, whenever a player has like scribe scroll, I always think it's really cool to come up with some other way of making your scrolls. You could just say, oh, okay, my character pulls out a scroll. Or you can come up with some thematic thing that uses the same mechanics as a scroll.
Right.
But thematically, it's something else. With my character, it was cards. So he would like pull out a card that had a spell on it, do whatever, like say, he would take the same actions as using a scroll, but he would like throw down the card and then the effect would take place. Mm-hmm. So, there's that. And then like the official magic items, the deck of many things, of course, is it's a cool item that I've always liked. The only time I've ever tried to use it in a campaign, it understandably destroyed the campaign, as it tends to do.
Oh, what is that, like one of them has a chance to like make a sphere of destruction
well,
or something like
that? The deck of many things is an artifact where it's a deck of cards, and then like when someone comes to it, they choose how many cards they're going to draw. I don't think you ever have to, but I think there's been some published adventures where it's like, in order to progress, someone in the party has to draw a card. So you draw a card as soon as you say how many you're going to draw. However many you're going to draw, get drawn. Every card has either a very powerful good thing or a very powerful bad thing on it. Some of them might be, you gain a level and a magic item. Some of them might be, the next time something bad happens to you, you can reverse it. Or it might be, hey, an evil demon lord somewhere now hates you. Or like, hey, you just summoned an avatar of the god of death and you have to kill him yourself or you die. And if your party members try to help you, they have to fight an identical one themselves.
Oh, wow.
So like some of them are really, really good. Some of them are really, really bad. But like the only stories you ever hear about them being used in an established campaign, it's like, my character that I'd been playing for 30 levels, or not 30, the character I'd been playing for 30 sessions got completely annihilated. He got like trapped in a demiplane for the rest of existence. And then my party member, he got like a level, a stronghold, and now a god owes him a favor or something. So like anything that has really, really powerful effects, good or bad, can really kind of upset a campaign. And so the Deck of Many Things there's been a lot of examples of that.
Oh, that sounds a little extreme.
On a slightly less powerful note, there's the Deck of Illusions, which is just kind of like it's a bunch of cards, and then like each card creates like an illusion of some specific thing. It's in the Dungeon Master's
That's pretty
Guide.
cool. Yeah, like things that are like cards or dice and things like that. Like little items like that. Because there's like a little level of chance to it. And,
Yeah.
You know, it's cool.
Anything that brings a real world game into the game world, I think is really cool. Any way that you can kind of use that to make your game more interesting is cool.
Like a house of cards made out of giant crystal slabs.
Yes. Yeah, so I thought this was a neat item.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right. Are you ready to get to some questions, Jeff?
Sure, let's do it.
All right.
First question comes from Isaac Priestley from Reddit. How do you roleplay low charisma?
So a lot of people seem to have the idea, and it's not unfounded, but a lot of people seem to have the idea that charisma equates to likability.
Right.
I think it can, but the rule book describes charisma as being force of personality.
Okay.
I think for the argument that I'm going to make, I think that is a better overall use of charisma.
Sure.
So a lot of people seem to think that when you have a low charisma character, that charisma is going to be annoying and loud. And he's going to like belch in your face and like he's going to get kicked out of the bar after 5 minutes because everybody hates him.
Right.
I personally don't like that. I don't think that is an example of low charisma. Think of it this way. When you're watching let's say you're watching like a Disney Channel original movie and the characters are in high school. And it's a Friday night and the quote unquote unpopular kids are sitting at home because everybody hates them. And then the quote unquote popular kids drive by and like throw paint at their house or something.
Yeah.
Because, those unpopular kids, we hate them so much. I think that is a very unfounded stereotype of what popular and unpopular is. I think that I'm sure that those kinds of interactions exist.
Right.
I would not say that those are popular or unpopular.
Yeah.
If in real life, if you're unpopular, the popular kids don't harass you day to day. They don't come and mess with you on a Friday night because they hate you so much. The popular kids don't know who you are and they don't care what you're doing on a Friday night because you're unpopular. You are not popular. Therefore, people don't know who you are.
Right. And as people who play D&D, we are speaking from experience.
Maybe.
I mean, usually it's like, the unpopular person or somebody with low charisma is the person who is kind of like unnoticeable.
Yeah. So I would say, and again, like you said, this is coming from someone who I think has a low charisma, or at least like for the majority of my life, I had a low charisma. Now, maybe
in certain situations.
Well, you may be asking, well, what the crap are you doing having a podcast where you talk for an hour and whatever, if you have low charisma? Well, I've put a lot of ranks into my skills. So I make up for it with training rather than innate skill. So anyway, I would say that for the majority of my life, I had low charisma. And when I would hang out with people, it wouldn't be, everybody hates me or whatever. It's just that nobody knows that I'm there. When, you're trying to talk to somebody, when you're in a group of people and you're trying to say something funny and either nobody listens or halfway through you talking, a more interesting person comes over. And so now everybody's paying attention to them.
Right.
And you're like, but I was in the middle of my story. And then they tell the joke that you were telling and everybody laughs.
Damn it. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what it's like to have low charisma. So I would say a better example of low charisma is just the person that you didn't notice was there. Or you saw them, but afterwards you were like, wait, who was that that told that story. What did that guy look like? I honestly don't remember. So I would say if you meet someone and they make a strong impression on you, even if that impression is negative, I would say that person had a high charisma.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you are going to like what they have to say. There's always just, there's clashes of personality and so on.
But yeah, they're going to have that impression on you.
Yeah. If you made a strong impression, you have high charisma. If you made a very small impression or no impression at all, I would really say that that's low charisma.
Would you say that like a diplomacy check could be something like a customer coming into a retail store and just whining and complaining until they get what they want? Would that be like a successful diplomacy check?
Yes, absolutely. I would.
So I mean, like, yeah, that's kind of that. I mean, that kind of illustrates that, yeah, like charisma doesn't have to be like, schmoozing your way into getting what you want.
Yeah. I mean, that's one way to do it.
Right.
But yeah, if you got what you wanted, you used your charisma effectively.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So whether it be through intimidation or diplomacy, that, because you might be intimidating them to like, oh, I'm going to call the manager and report you, or I'm going to call corporate, that sort of a thing. But it's like that person is not desirable or likable.
Right.
They're the scum of the earth. But hey, but somebody went and got the manager, or somebody like gave them the discount that they wanted. So like that's sort of sorry, I don't like working in retail.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I'm sure we've all been there.
Yeah.
So you brought up intimidation. I think that's another point I want to talk about. So sure. Intimidation could be a threat of physical violence. Mm-hmm. That's definitely one way to do it. In which case, some people would say, oh, let me take a little step back here for a second. A long time ago in 3.5, mm-hmm. I remember somebody, I think they were writing into Dragon Magazine saying, by the rules, a half-orc barbarian wielding a bloody great axe has a lower intimidate check than a gnome farmer wielding a cob of corn.
Right, because of the charisma.
Well, yeah, because in 3.5, half-orcs got a penalty to charisma, which meant that they got a penalty to intimidate.
Sure.
Now, the response was that you can always find ways to get around that. Like, the DM could always award you a circumstance bonus to your check for having a bloody axe. You could even allow a player to use strength for intimidate. Mm-hmm. If you had a way of doing that, like you could like bend a steel bar, or like, grab something and break it, or like pick the guy up and hold him 3 feet off the ground. You could do that. And those are different ways of using intimidate, mm-hmm. but that is not the only way to use intimidate.
Right.
Like, think of it this way. Let's say if a half orc, let's do a real world example. So not including half orcs.
Sure.
Let's say some big burly guy broke through the door of your house holding like a baseball bat. And he pointed at you and he said, "Me no like you, me hurt you with stick." I mean, that's going to be intimidating because he's got a baseball bat in your face.
Definitely
and
startling. And
he just broke down your door.
Yeah.
But let's say instead you walk into your house, you turn on the light, and there's a guy sitting on your couch. And he says, "Oh, don't be alarmed. Have a seat. I want you to know that I have your family in my trunk right now. My trunk of my car. My car is sitting on the edge of a cliff. I have a phone in my hand. I can call somebody right now and have him, put a brick on the gas pedal, and your family's going to die unless you do what I say." Which one is more intimidating?
I mean, I would
say they're both
intimidating, but
the first guy is not intimidating you through charisma.
Right.
He's intimidating you through his strength, through his weapon, the fact that he just broke down your door.
Sure.
The second guy very much is intimidating you through charisma.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even the only way to use charisma to intimidate someone. Like, even if the first guy broke down your door, pointed the bat at you, and said, "Listen here, I just broke down that door the same way I'm going to break your arm if you don't do exactly what I say." That even, I think, would be more intimidating than him being like, "Me no like you, me have hard stick, me gonna hit you with stick." Like, if he doesn't have an adequate way to get across what he wants to do to you,
it can be more confusing than intimidating.
Yeah. So like, even just being more eloquent does directly translate to being better at intimidation.
Sure.
So charisma, I think a lot of people have a weird interpretation of what charisma is, and I think that this is furthered by the stereotypes that we see, which is like, oh, dwarves have low charisma? Well, I'm going to roleplay my dwarf as being drunk and loud and whatever. I think that's more an issue of that's what dwarves are like in most people's minds, rather than that's what low charisma is like. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ways to go about high charisma or low charisma, but, again, I think that if you get a strong impression from someone, that is an example of high charisma rather than low charisma, even if it was a bad impression. Mm-hmm. So I feel very strongly about this.
Sure.
A lot of people may disagree with me. If you disagree and you want to send us hate mail, Jeff, where might somebody send us hate mail?
Well, they could send us hate mail or fan mail or questions to InterPartyConflict@gmail.com.
Yes. So, if you have a different opinion, by all means, let me know. I'm not saying that this is the only way to play it. In fact, I think I've done a pretty good job of explaining why that's not the only way to play it. Sure. But going by the rule book where they express charisma as force of personality, I think that that's how it should be played.
Yeah. I remember back to when I was younger and we just equated charisma score to physical appearance.
That's true.
It's like if you had a high charisma, you were just much better looking.
Yeah. A lot of people do that. And they're not at fault for doing that. That's another stereotype that gets furthered by a lot of different sources. But I don't know. I think that that's something that should likewise be separate. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that there are unattractive people out there that are able to to get laid all the time because they are good at getting somebody interested in them. Mm-hmm. I haven't been in a ton of relationships in my life. My wife found me early on, and so I'm set.
It's a cute story too, but
some other time. But I think I can say that the majority of getting somebody romantically interested in you is confidence.
Sure,
everybody is attracted to confidence. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's some people
overconfidence is its own.
And I guess there are some rather scumbaggish people out there that are particularly want their partner not to be confident. Well, that's a different thing.
That's more or less a conquest of physical partners than having,
I guess that's true. That's true.
That, in most cases, at that point, people will see other people as property and that sort of. You get into that whole misogynistic sort of thing.
That's not somewhere we want to go on this podcast. But in general, to get someone romantically interested in you, it takes confidence. Mm-hmm. And I think confidence is a huge part of charisma. Mm-hmm. I would say, if you have a character with high charisma, they should also have confidence. I can't really imagine a character that has high charisma that is role played as not being confident. And I feel like they are hand in hand. I feel like that's saying I have a character with 18 strength, but his carrying capacity is 20 pounds.
Right. Yeah. I would say that it'd be really hard to find a way for them not to go together. I'm trying to think of an example of a personality that doesn't have if they're charismatic. Yeah, they kind of have to be confident because confidence is really what drives your personality.
Yeah.
Going against the whole likability thing, somebody who's confident but is a slob. That's still a high charisma.
That is still a high charisma, yeah. Because there are slobs out there that are able to get a date anytime they want because they know how to get someone interested.
And not even necessarily dates, but they're gonna get what they want.
Well, yeah.
And they might have charisma in all walks of life, but in all areas, but it's they'll be able to get a drink at the bar for free because they can belch the loudest or whatever.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure all of us know that that incredibly obnoxious loud friend that is always the center of attention.
Sure.
You cannot say that is low charisma.
Right, yeah. It's you might not like them because they're just annoying and obnoxious, but
they get your attention.
They get your attention. They usually get what they want.
Yeah.
They're people listen to them, whether it's because they have no choice because they're so loud.
Right.
But that's a force of personality. So that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Brandondorf from Reddit. He says, lately it has been difficult for him to set aside time for face-to-face campaigns. what are your thoughts on play-by-post campaigns?
Okay. I think I mentioned this a couple episodes ago when we were talking about like technology and innovations and whatnot.
Right.
I think that play-by-post campaigns are a great idea. I've heard great things about them. I think that there's definitely a lot of potential. I have a friend that has played a few play-by-post campaigns, and he says that like in that kind of thing, you can get so much role playing because you have time to like, write out your thoughts, and you can go so in depth with descriptions and whatnot.
And there's less, like a lot less like social awkwardness.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like, if you're not a really great public speaker, but you have a lot of good ideas, you have time and privacy to get it out.
If you have low charisma.
Sure.
But, so I think they're a great idea, but the only ones that I've participated in have been really, really slow. And I mean, that's kind of the medium. I'm not faulting the play-by-post campaigns or anything for it, but like it was really hard for me to keep focused, and like there would be the one or two players that are like on the ball replying, the moment that something happens, and then the other players that you have to wait like a couple days for them to take their turn in combat.
Right.
Which again, I can't fault the people for. Because you are kind of agreeing to take part in this thing that is explicitly long form,
right?
But just personally, it was too slow for my tastes, and I had to bow out eventually. So,
I mean, there has to be some fault towards the person, but it's not like it's not like a insult to them in any way. It's just like some people just don't have the time for it, even if it is like you're doing this specific thing because there's not a whole lot of time. Like even then, like. It's hard to set aside time specifically for this.
Right.
And like, I can see you really have to find ways to keep people interested in something that's like that they're not setting aside 6 hours to specifically spend on this. It's more like, because it's only like 20 minutes or 30 minutes at a time, like sitting down and writing out a couple paragraphs of, dialogue or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like because it's such a, like, you can do it in smaller bits, that it's harder to focus on it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So like, because it's all like, because it's, play by post, you're less likely to to find time for something when it's such a small thing.
Yeah.
And like, and that's part of like procrastination and things like that. Like you put things off like, oh, I can get that done later.
My old friend, procrastination.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a hard time focusing on things, and I'll put stuff off, and then it goes out of my brain completely, and then it'll be like 4 days later, and I'm like, crap.
Yeah, and then Gabe's been waiting on you to take your turn for 2 days.
It's like, yeah. I mean, there's things like I haven't really looked into them too much, but there's like the rolld20.com or something that, or .net, or I'm not sure which one it is. But like, yeah, things like that can kind of assist in play-by-post, or, different like DMing tools and things that you can find online that make it a little bit easier or a little bit more interesting, and something that like, you like if Facebook like devoted a lot of time and money into making a like, a D&D attachment or something for Facebook, like that would be huge.
That would be so awesome.
That would be awesome. But I mean, like, a company like Facebook isn't gonna spend money on that.
I would stop outwardly and vocally hating Facebook if that were the case.
Yeah, if they brought together all the nerds of the world.
Yes.
Although I haven't think about Facebook and nerds, but my sister introduced me to Facebook. Yeah, like a long time ago when it was the Facebook, and it was only, oh my goodness, it was only universities that had access.
That's when I got mine, not because of a college I was going to, but because a friend of mine had a college address that he wasn't using, so he gave it to somebody else, and then she gave it to me. And
because first it was universities, then they brought in colleges, and then eventually they brought in high schools, and then they just let anybody join it, which was, I get, like, business wise the right thing to do, because
I can't blame them for that.
Every device,
right?
But anyway, my sister introduced me to him. Actually introduced me and Steve at we were like playing. We were probably playing D&D or something like that. And she was like, "Hey, check this out! It's this thing called the Facebook, and you can talk to people, and you write messages, and you can like on their posts." And me and Steve looked at her and was like, "That is the nerdiest thing we have ever seen." It's like it's just all completely serious, straight face. That is the nerdiest thing we've ever seen. And like, cause like it reminded us like of especially all the games and stuff they had on Facebook at the time, which there's still plenty of those. But I mean, like the browser, like fantasy games where you like built armies and things like that. Are you familiar with these?
I mean, I know of them. I've never played. I've I played Farmville for a while, but that's about it.
Well, no, this goes back to like, I don't know. It was a browser based like fantasy game where you like built armies of like elves or something like that. There was a bunch of different things like that.
I don't know,
but it was really nerdy. But we were comparing that to Facebook, and like of course my sister was like, no, this is totally cool. All the cool kids are doing it. It's like, yeah, all the cool kids are nerds. Like,
yeah,
just a different type. Sorry, a little tangent there.
Oh, that's fine.
But yeah, play by post. Yeah, it definitely is a good idea.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are people who do it and they have a great time with it. Mm-hmm. Just my personal experience, I haven't had the greatest times.
Yeah, same. Like I said, I get distracted and then I forget about it, and then things just peter out and I just stop posting and that sort of thing.
I don't think I've ever just like completely just given up on it, but I've messaged the DM and been like, hey, this isn't for me. I need to bow out.
Yeah.
So there was one time the guy let me have like a big climax, like my character basically like self-destructed.
Sure. I mean, like, I guess it depends. Like, that might just not be for everybody.
Yeah.
Really. But I mean, like, it's when it's the only way you can play sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big part of it.
If you really want to play and that's the only way you can do it, you're probably going to be really into it and you're going to find a way to make time for it and, keep an eye on it and stuff.
Yeah. That's a good point.
They're great. Maybe not for everybody.
Right.
Next question comes from Laughing Jackal. Is it Jackal?
It's Jackal.
Is it Jackal? I think
Jackal.
I think we have confirmed from Laughing Jackal himself that it is indeed Jackal.
It is indeed Jackal. All right, let's go to Conway Twitty for a couple of minutes here.
I think if you play him for less than 10 seconds, we won't get copyrighted.
I'll see what I can.
I'm not sure what I can do. I'm not sure if that's a real thing.
Anyway,
even though we're not monetizing this at the moment, so it doesn't even really matter.
Right.
Anyway.
So the question.
Okay. And Laughing Jackal asks, this is from Reddit. How should I gauge if a fight is too difficult for my group?
This is a great question because there really isn't a way.
Yeah, it's
especially in 5th edition. Even if you do have an encounter that is like mechanically balanced, 5th edition, when they created it, they had this design philosophy that is called bounded accuracy, which makes it so that what they wanted was that at any given level, they didn't want it to be that you were guaranteed to hit ever.
Okay.
I mean, unless you were fighting something that was way, way, way lower than you. But even then, they wanted it to, like in 3rd edition, there was a point when using like my barbarian Ichi, there was a point where my standard attack voluntarily had a -5 to it because I was using power attack because I knew I was going to hit regardless of what I rolled.
Right.
Like just after a certain point, I was always going to hit. So I might as well use up some of those points of attack bonus and apply them to damage instead.
Right.
And so that happens, like in 3.5, that happens after a certain point. They didn't want that to happen. They wanted, even at high levels, they wanted players to still have a significant chance that they would not hit. And so as a result, all of the numbers are a lot lower. So like you might be facing an enemy that only has like a 14 AC at like 10th level. But the fighter is only going to have like a +6 to hit at that point.
Sure.
So maybe my numbers are a little bit off there, but even at a significant level, you're still going to have like a 40% chance of missing. When we ran our 5th edition campaign a couple years ago, this was a big thing. Like, how do I gauge if a fight's going to be difficult or not? Like, so I would make an encounter that was numerically balanced, which I'll get to in just a second, but then I would throw the encounter at you guys, and then if you guys rolled well, you'd win the fight. If you didn't roll well, you would not win the fight. We had I think our first encounter was your character. Because you were a paladin. Yeah. I want to say your character got dropped to negatives or something because
there was definitely an encounter where I they used like hold person on me or something like that, which was just terrible. But yeah, I think you might be right. There was at least a point where I felt like I did go down a few times.
Whatever the case, like even though the encounter was supposedly balanced, because of some bad rolls, the players were screwed over right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And similarly speaking, there would be other encounters where I'd be like, okay, this is going to be way too powerful of an encounter. But then no, the players rolled well and they steamrolled it.
That just goes into one of the things I just don't like about D&D is like it is just random in a lot of cases. Like, because like I made a paladin because I wanted to be very defensive, and I was of course like dropped a negative like with ease. And and like yes, I'm putting myself in more danger because I'm acting as the tank basically, and so like there is more chances of me taking damage. But a lot of the times it's like, okay, like, yeah, like you built your character up a specific way, but the dice aren't going to roll in your favor. So like, you could be you could have the highest attack and the highest damage of anybody ever, and you roll a 1 all the time.
Yeah.
You just always roll a 1. No matter what you do, it's just because it's random chance, you're just going to roll single digits and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. And 5th edition especially, like, because the game is they made the game so dependent on your rolls. Mm-hmm. It's harder even than it was before to like just have a character that's always effective.
Right.
And I'm not trying to knock bounded accuracy. I'm not trying to knock 5th edition. Like, sure, that was a design choice and there's advantages and disadvantages to that. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit of a 5th edition pun.
Yeah, out there. I was going to say something.
But, so the question is, well, okay, you've shown that the system is not going to be balanced no matter what. How do you do the best you can? So ultimately the best way to gauge, how difficult a fight's going to be is through experience. Once you're familiar enough with the game, you can kind of guess how things are going to go. I remember when I first started playing with our friend Chris, I was so impressed because there would be times where he would like, I think we were in a Forgotten Realms campaign, and there was a point where like a book came out where there was the stats for some really important NPC. There was like this Archlich in Forgotten Realms. Mm-hmm. And when I saw those stats, I was like, oh my goodness, this guy's crazy. Like, what would it be like to fight that guy? And Chris was like, hand me the book. I handed him the book. And then he was like, okay, first round, you would do this, you would do this, and you would do this. And then he would do this. Second round, this would happen. And then you would die 4th round. And then this would happen. And then you guys would all be dead by the 6th round. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know how accurate he was or not, but just the fact that he could look at a stat block and have a pretty good idea of how the encounter would go.
Sure.
That's so cool. And that's something that really only comes with experience. Mm-hmm. That's another D&D pun for you. But, until you get experienced, what I would recommend doing is use an online encounter builder. For example, there's one I'll put in the show notes, but it's kobold.club. Again,
that's a great domain name.
It's a good domain name. I'll put it in the show notes. It's an encounter builder that is really good for building quote unquote balanced encounters. Sure. I use this for our 5th edition campaign. I just talked about how poorly that went for us, but that's not the numbers' fault. So, when you're using this encounter builder, it's really, really easy to use. You choose like how many players you have, what level they are, and then you can either scroll through monsters from different sources. You can like click on, okay, I'll add this monster and this monster and this monster. And then it'll tell you for players of that level, it's going to be a difficult encounter.
Sure.
Or you can subtract a couple monsters and it'll be like, that's going to be an easy encounter. Mm-hmm. You could even just hit random and it'll just randomly assign you an easy encounter, a moderate encounter, or a difficult encounter for the level you've chosen.
Yeah, so it helps you with the numbers aspect of it.
Definitely, yeah. So it's a really good resource just for getting what is mechanically going to be a balanced encounter.
Mm-hmm. And then from there you can assess what your party's abilities are and
exactly.
Things like
that. So you can plan it accordingly. I would also recommend try to have an escape plan if things start to go south. Mm. This could mean having a Deus Ex Machina where, the town guard shows up. Sure. If like 2 of the players go into negatives, the town guard shows up. Or maybe have try to give your enemies some sort of other goal beyond just killing the party.
Right, yeah.
So those sorts of things can alleviate a bit of the inherent danger of an encounter. But you never want to just kill off your party, especially on like a random encounter or something. So if you can have an escape route that doesn't seem too heavy-handed, try to implement it if you can. But so use an encounter builder to like make a mechanically balanced encounter and then just practice.
Yeah, just kind of work from there.
Yeah.
All right, this next question comes through email from Nicholas P. What do you think of parties having pets or companions? So the example he gave was a party tames a rust monster and has it as a companion.
Now, I think that is adorable.
A little rust monster.
I would love to be in a party where we had a pet rust monster. Mm-hmm. However, as a DM, I kind of hate when players have like animal companions because I even mentioned a few episodes ago, I hate having to kill off like a familiar or something.
Right.
But like if it's in combat, I don't want to have to purposely not damage, the little companion or whatever. But like, I don't want to have to not do it, but at the same time, I hate having to do it.
Yeah.
So like, I don't ever want to kill something that the players are emotionally invested in.
Right. And it's not just emotional investment, at least in some editions, like getting a companion, one that's not just like an animal companion from like a druid or a ranger or some similar class with like a class feature that is, hey, here's a familiar or something. Yeah. Trying to get a companion just through other means, like, even like you're either spending money and buying like a horse or something.
Right.
Or you're spending a lot of like skill ranks and feats and a lot of time and resources training and taming an animal that can only learn so many tricks and like commands and stuff based on its intelligence. There's a lot of mechanics that go into it that like it takes a lot of effort and time. And then when you think about, like it could just die in combat really easily. Like you get a pet dog and it's just a dog, but you spend a lot of time and resources training this dog to like fetch things for you.
Right.
And a kobold could kill it. Like that being said, things like that, because there's an emotional and like your research, investment in it. If that thing dies, that could be a big motivator. That could even be a nice campaign hook. Like somebody killed your dog. You're going to go and you're going to break open the safe under your house with all your guns and your gold coins in it. And you're going to go on a killing spree across the world. Which one is that?
It's John Wick.
Okay.
I thought that's what you were going for.
Actually, I haven't seen that.
My favorite. Okay. I'm going to take a small digression here just to talk about John Wick. I haven't seen the second one, but in the first one, there's a point where, so like this mob boss's son kills John Wick's dog, steals his car. And then he takes the car to like a chop shop where they're going to like, okay, give me some clean numbers and stuff. So this can be my car now. John Leguizamo is the owner of the chop shop. He punches out the mob boss's son. The mob boss calls him later that day and he says, "Why did you punch out my son?" To which John Leguizamo responds, "He killed John Wick's dog." And the mob boss says, "Oh." So just to give you an idea of what this movie is about, like John Wick is like, he is that badass that this mob boss, he's like, "Oh, that's why you punched out my son. Okay, I understand now."
It's like, oh, I get it.
Because he angered John Wick.
Got it.
So anyway. I would hate to kill somebody's dog in a game. That's like the last thing I would ever want to do as a DM. But then I also don't want the players to know that. And it's like, okay, send the dog in because he's not going to kill the dog.
Right, yeah. Like it's just... Well, didn't you say you had like a character or something that had like a pet rat?
Yeah, exactly. That's when I brought it up in a previous episode. I specifically put in this plot hook of my character has this rat that strangely comes back to life all the time because I don't want the DM to purposely refrain from killing this rat
or feel bad about.
Well, yeah.
And like in that case, you could just say like the animal itself has no like mechanical benefit. Like yes, you just have a pet dog.
Yeah,
it's just Mr. Snuffles, and he's always there. And like the DM could be like the battle's going on, and like and you roll a dice, and Mr. Snuffles found a bone over there. He's chewing on it. So now he's licking himself. I rolled a 1. So like if they just want a pet, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, like for something like a rust monster, which obviously they're taming a rust monster so they can have a rust monster and use it for rust monster things. # rust monster things. But so for something like that, like, I mean, they're obviously going to use it in combat.
Right.
I think the player knows that it can die.
I know.
But like I said, like, depending on the the edition, and if they're using any sort of house rules, or if the DM just says, sure, you can have a rust monster. Like it does take a lot of time to like actually tame a beast, especially a magical beast like a rust monster.
Yeah.
Like I want to say it's either like twice or like 4 times the DC to tame a magical beast that it is a normal animal.
Probably something like that. Yeah.
Because I think it's like an animal takes like DC 10 plus whatever, and like a beast takes. Because this is I'm thinking of third edition. There was animal beast and magical beast, so something like a eater cap, or what's the other one, Umber Hulk.
Oh my goodness!
There were rules I remember there was an example of taming an Umber Hulk
and then using it as a mount or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it takes a lot of effort and really high skill checks.
Yeah. Like I can recognize that this is a personal bias of my own, and it's not logical.
Sure.
Whenever I'm watching a horror movie, I'm fine with them killing off the people.
Aww.
But the moment an animal gets hurt, it's like, I don't know if I can watch this anymore.
Oh heck no. Yeah, you don't kill the dog. Kill off the stupid, like, the annoying teenager that's ruining everything.
Even if it's a character I like, I can handle that character's death far better than I can handle. I mean, it's not going to make me stop watching a movie, but it will make me more uncomfortable about the movie. And like similarly, I'm not against killing NPCs. Like if the players have like an NPC helper, I don't know if I would go so far as killing them on a whim, but like if they brought their NPC helper into battle, I would have no qualms fighting the NPC, as if it was a player.
Right.
But if it's an animal, I'm just like, I don't want to do it.
I feel like if you as a DM are worried about that, you can definitely warn your players, like you really should consider when and when not to put this thing into battle, because it can and will die. Like it doesn't have class levels.
Yeah. Like
it doesn't have class levels. Like that creature's going to have so many hit dice. And if you bring
that's it.
And then that's it. And like, you gotta and because of the mechanics, like you can only tell it to do so many things depending on its intelligence and things like that. Like it might not be able to get out of situations as easily as you could.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just being up for, if they really want to do it, you should definitely let them if they really want to, but warn them like, hey, like if you're gonna spend your, the 1 feat you get for the next 3 levels on being able to tame this thing because you needed that extra +3 to handle animal or whatever. Like, just know that it could be going to waste.
Yeah.
Okay. This next question comes from Mostly Joe through email. He asks, do you feel 5th edition mechanics would work in a modern setting?
I think the rules, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the character options like classes and whatnot, no.
Oh, sure. I feel like when he's saying modern settings, he's just saying like a D20 modern, where it's could you just flavor everything differently and just make it a modern setting?
To an extent, yeah. Just the thing is, like D&D is very, very combat oriented.
Mm-hmm.
That's what like 80% of the rules is combat.
Yeah.
Then there's like some skills, like out of combat skills. And then there's very, very little rules on role-playing or really anything else.
Right.
And so I think it's really easy for us to rationalize combat being a big part of D&D because it's a medieval setting. Mm-hmm. And because of medieval fiction and whatnot, when we think back, we always think, oh, okay, people were getting in fights at the drop of a hat and fighting.
There's a lot more
monsters survive.
There's a lot more like duels of honor and things like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's plenty of violence in the modern world. In fact, there is monumentally more violence in the modern world. But
you make a good point. But I think in people's day-to-day lives, there is very little violence.
Hopefully.
We hope. And I just think that when people think about medieval stuff, they're like, yeah, everybody could fight. Everybody had a sword. Everybody, was trained to ride a horse and whatnot.
Sure.
Nowadays, I feel like most people do not know how to do much of anything. Even the violence that does happen isn't trained. It's just spur of the moment.
And the mechanics of driving a car versus the mechanics of riding a horse, even in like a tabletop game setting is a lot, I'd say a lot different.
Yeah. So I think it definitely could work. Like Jeff mentioned, there was a game called D20 Modern back in the 3rd edition days that was explicitly basically D&D in a modern setting. Mm-hmm. But, things had to change. Like they did have to change some things. And I just think that the system as a whole lends itself more to medieval.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it can't work, but I think it wouldn't work as well as a lot of people would hope it would work.
I mean, and like it's things work a lot faster.
Yeah.
I mean, because something like melee combat with a sword and shield, it's not to say that it's like slow, but it's a lot. There's, I don't know. I feel like a battle between two guys with a sword is going to take a little bit longer than two guys with guns.
Well, maybe. I think, there's a lot of this that is like led by fiction and stuff. Like when you see a movie where there's two people sword fighting, it's always like this dramatic thing where they're constantly like, just barely missing each other and so on. If you watch like an actual video of people sword fighting, it's like, it's really boring because it's just like, oh yeah, I hit his shield. He hits my shield. Shield. When trying to get the audio for our Dragon's Horde intro, I listened to like a lot of audio clips that people had made, and one of which was like people actually fighting with like a metal sword and whatnot. And it's like, this doesn't sound at all like what I wanted because I'm used to movies and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Where like gunshots are like super loud. And,
yeah.
Or they just pierce the air. Whereas in real life, it's a loud noise, but it's more of a popping noise than a bang.
And so similarly, I think in movies, we think of, with a gun, bam, it's over. But like, there was a thing in the news a couple of years ago. I think it was somewhere here around where we live. There was a gunfight that broke out in some store that went on for like 3 minutes of these two people like 4 feet away from each other on the opposite sides of a counter. Nobody got hurt. They shot at each other for a while. Eventually the assailant fled.
Huh.
And I mean,
well, yeah, I guess you're right. And like thinking about even like turn-based like tactical games, like even thinking even that way, like like gunfire and things like that, or like just even like modern like war and things like that. Like it's more than just like it's whoever shoots first wins. It's not like I guess it's not like a Wild West duel of like draw. It's like no, like somebody's like positioning themselves to get cover. Trying to find where the enemy is and that sort of thing. So there definitely could be some like mechanics to that.
I think I'm just getting too hung up on like fictional stuff versus realistic stuff.
Right. And when he's saying a modern setting, it depends on what you mean by modern. Really.
I guess.
I mean, like, are you saying like, modern as in like there's technology and things like that?
Yeah.
Like how far are you going? Is it like realistic modern?
That's actually a really good point. If you had like, I don't know, if it was like futuristic, I would have no problem whatsoever using D&D. Heck, I could even have the D&D classes in like a futuristic setting.
Yeah, like it's just like
why do I feel like a modern setting wouldn't work very well?
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I guess it would. It like there's really no reason for it not to. Yep. It's just how much work you want to put into actually making sure everything's still balanced and things like that.
There you go. I think that's the best way to put it.
Okay.
All right. And I think that'll just about do it for today.
All right.
If anybody would like to submit items or questions, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, a running list of the questions asked, and important links, or to download the episode, go to interpartyconflict.blogspot.com, where we have a link to our SoundCloud page. For our Facebook page, go to facebook.com/interpartyconflict. We also have a dedicated subreddit at reddit.com/r/interpartyconflict, where I actually give weekly discussion questions to you. We are also on Twitter at InPartyConflict, and we're on iTunes, Google Play Music, and Stitcher. Please rate, review, and subscribe. We really appreciate it. And our intro and outro music is Inspiration by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. I have been Gabe.
And I'm Jeff.
And thank you for joining us.
It's dangerous to go alone.
There you go.